Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Raising the New Earth podcast. I'm your host, Noah Dory, and today we have here an incredible wellness entrepreneur, intuitive energy and sound healing facilitator, and owner of Lakeshore Wellness, Yvonne Skelly. Yvonne, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Noah. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. So, tell our listeners a little bit about your background and who you are.
Oh, where do I start? Well, I suppose I hail from Ireland, the Emerald Isle in Europe, and I have lived there for all of my life, pretty much. And I am as you mentioned, you described me as a wellness entrepreneur. So about 10 years ago, I set up a wellness company. And I owned several centres, wellness centres in Ireland. And that was really born out of a passion and a vision that I had to be of service to humanity, and to help people realize their full potential. And if you backtrack a little bit before that, even in my late teens, I was always very curious about the human potential and how perhaps there was way more to the world and to our creativity than we perhaps realized. And so I was very interested in learning about mindset, about our power to create, about our power to heal, to create joy, to create an earth that is essentially heaven on earth. So I had that curiosity even as a teenager, and read quite a lot. And then in my 20s, I started to explore my own journey of self-healing and
Mm.
explore studying different modalities, which brought me on a journey. So I ended up, learning things like energy healing, like Reiki, for example, crystal healing, craniosacral therapy, sound healing. And all of this was, a constant evolution over the years, which led me then 10 years ago to set up the wellness company. And even that's evolved, from owning three centers, it's kind of progressed into having no centers, which sounds like a bit of a sad story, but it's actually not. It's just the way I always work very intuitively. People in Ireland often describe me as a visionary and a conscious heart-based leader in within my business. So I'm always following my heart and following the nudges from the universe. And the nudge really was that having centers was no longer part of my soul
Mhm.
purpose, my soul path. And it's actually expanded my potential to reach more people because now I'm more nomadic. So
Mhm.
I'm anchored in Ireland, but I am traveling around a bit, and I'm starting to bring some of the modalities and the gifts that I have to a more global audience. So I've traveled to Canada, to the US, around Europe, and yeah, it's been a very curious adventure. But it's great because I'm just following my heart and my intuition about where can I be of service the most, and following that.
And from my personal experience as well as the experience of being a host on the podcast, I know that every single MD, ND, Cairo, every energy healer that I've ever interviewed, and as a medical practitioner myself, I think we all go through an individual suffering in a way, individual pain, in order to go to the other side and be of a positive influence and help others. So, can you talk a little bit about what you experienced, you said in your teenage years, that led you to being now on the other side, a healing facilitator?
Yeah, I think as a child, I always seemed to have quite a different perception to those around me. It's like as if I could kind of read the energetics of my environment, and I found that quite often what I was being told or what was being expressed to me was not congruent with what I was feeling. So I
Mhm.
always felt a little bit like a fish out of water. And kind of because I did perceive the world quite differently. And I guess we all have our own experiences. I think living on planet Earth is a bit of a trauma anyway, because it's quite we're very deeply sensitive souls like myself. I'm very empathic, and I am deeply sensitive and feel things very viscerally in my body. So that is almost like a trauma anyway. It's a very harsh planet to live on, and there's a lot of suffering in the world. So I had my own journeys of learning to love myself, learning to accept myself, because I did feel quite different to a lot of people around me. And then, of course, there's different relationships and different adversity that we all face in various different forms, whether that be in marital breakdowns, I've had quite a roller coaster in my entrepreneurial journey as well,
Mhm.
which is ultimately a good story, but there is still a lot of adversity that you have to come up against. Like even during COVID, for example, I was working parallel as a project manager before I went full-time entrepreneur, and I decided to go full-time entrepreneur in March 2020.
Wow.
And I think we all know what happened in March 2020. I literally 2 weeks before I became before the pandemic and the lockdowns, I became a full-time entrepreneur and found that I had no centers with any business going on because they were all shut down.
Wow.
But that was a bit of a trauma in and of itself, and but I think, all the different and I can speak to that later on about that. What I've learned over the years is to master myself. It's still an ongoing journey, of course. Nobody's the finished product, but I've learned to master my reaction or my response to different adversities in my life, whether that be marital breakdowns or abuse or financial issues or ill health. Like back in 2011, I had ill health. So there's
Mhm.
loads of different things that happen, but it's about our perception of what's playing out
I like
in
that.
front of us. It's not about what's happening out there because we're always going to face adversity. And we're
Mhm.
in very transformative times now on this earth. All the old systems are collapsing. Whether we notice it or whether we're conscious of it or whether we want it or not, they are collapsing because the energies are starting to change. So our education, our financial, our health systems, our communities, they're all starting to change, which feels deeply uncomfortable and feels like adversity to a lot of people. And I'm sure a lot of your listeners and viewers, they're having their own personal experience within that collective experience. So it could be like relationships breaking down or jobs changing or, so experiencing some kind of catastrophe, whether that's an earth-based thing like an earthquake or, we're in California at the moment. There's fires all around us, There's a lot of things changing for people. But the real mastery and what my journey has led me to is to learn the mastery of shifting our perception, like not negating the negativity of what we're experiencing, not like spiritually bypassing it, but dropping into the feelings of whatever is coming up for us in that current experience that we're having, but then not getting lost in it, feeling it, letting it move through, and shifting our perception. And one of my main perceptions would be to understand the universe is orchestrated for us, against us. So even though things might feel really, really uncomfortable, and I can share a few little stories of even recently things about my business that were really deeply uncomfortable, but it's to keep and hold and cultivate that sense of curiosity about, well, if vibrationally this certain experience or relationship or business or whatever it is falling away, quantum physics means that something else is going to come in, and that something else is up to our perception and up to our frequency and our vibration of what that can be. So if we can shift our perception to one of curiosity and excitement and self-exploration about what that can be, we can actually start to create experiences and magnetize experience to us that are really a higher level experience. And I often say to the universe, or some people might call it God or source, I'm done with the suffering and pain story. I'm
Mm.
done with that. I've done that, so now I'm saying, no, I'm choosing grace and joy and expansion and abundance in all its forms, and this is a very important message, particularly in the times we're in. There's a lot of polarity, a lot of things changing. It's to learn to master our perception of what's happening because how we master it actually creates heaven on earth if we choose to. So we have a choice point in every moment. And different modalities that I've done over the years have helped me to navigate that kind of road. And now it's even if there's adversity, I still have that sense of joy and knowing that it's for a higher purpose and it's leading somewhere really beautiful.
Right. And that's also the observer's effect, when I think
Yeah.
it was Sherling Dunn, I forgot his name, but that was the observer. Is the cat, is it alive? Is it dead? Is the glass half full? Is the glass half empty? Perception is indeed important. So what would be some of the tips that you can say to someone who's in such distress that they can't see past their own grief and trauma that is not released? What are some of the things that you do as uh, as an energy practitioner with those clients?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, in my own personal journey, I suppose I can speak to that, and then I can speak to how I can help clients. For my personal journey, I find that nature is really important. Like nature is physiologically designed to bring us back to harmony. So grounding, being out in fresh air, connecting with nature, meditating in nature, walking in nature. Nature is a healer. It is
Mhm,
there to support us. So I always say to people, get out into nature,
mhm,
start to connect with yourself and start to give yourself time. I know it can be difficult when you've got jobs and families and kids and everything going on, but start to make time for yourself, to connect with yourself. A lot of people are so disconnected from their own life. They're so busy distracting themselves that they don't connect with themselves. They don't know how they feel. And
mhm,
sometimes when I speak to people, I'd say, what would bring you joy? And they don't even know that because they're
mhm,
so disconnected. So nature helps you to connect with yourself. And I would say also surround, I mean, obviously you've got good things like eating good food and sleep. I mean, they're a given. And a lot of people know what good food and all of that is. But there's a bit of a gap between knowing and actually doing it.
mhm,
So, and I'm sure you know this in your capacity, in your job, in your role. So it's really, if you don't put good food in, and a lot of our food chain is very toxic. So eat as clean as you can, as pure as you can, get a good night's sleep. And the other thing I'd say to people is surround yourself with a good community of people and start to pull away from the people that are creating drama in your life.
mhm,
That's so important. You know, if you look at the five closest people around you, and if they're not inspiring you, these are the kind of this is what's going to inspire you and elevate you and help you. So build a very good community of people around you and seek out support and have discipline and practices. It could be breath work, body movement. And it doesn't have to be like sometimes people think, oh, the gym is boring. You can dance around your kitchen and move your
mhm,
body. It doesn't have to be this structured thing. It can be whatever you're feeling in the moment, but just move,
mhm,
and practice different. I found from my journey over the years, different practices have served me well at different times.
mhm.
So it could be body
Right.
work, it could be breath work. Breath work, I'm a big fan of. I find breath work really amazing. It's a game changer if people really embrace breath work. But I've also done things like cacao ceremonies, shamanic practices, and I've explored them all. And I found them beneficial at different times in my life. So I'd say to
Mhm,
people, be curious, be playful, explore different modalities, see what resonates with you, see what works for you, see what makes you feel better. But if you don't have the budget for things like that, because not all of us have the budget for spending loads of money on different modalities, I would prioritize as best you can, but then focus on things like nature, like stillness, being in your own, connecting with yourself. You
Do
know,
you
that's in my capacity, for me personally, what I do. Yeah.
do you feel that, I mean, for me, this is my second career. I'm an artist turned, medical student, nutritionist, and all that. So I do have, I feel like both hemispheres working, the creative and the really clinical science, clinical background. So some of the clients that I personally see are clients that have given up on, allopathic medicine when it comes to their chronic illness, or have chosen a different path, or have seen so many of westernized techniques that didn't help them. And so they come to see me kind of like at the end of the road. They come to see me
Yeah.
after they tried everything. Who are some of who are some of the people that come to see you? Because it is hard to believe in energy healing, even
Mm,
though energy is the base of our existence. This
yeah.
is who we are. We are energetic beings, and there is science to back that up if you choose to look it up, and it's available for everyone to look it up.
Yeah.
But how do you how do you convince, or how do you lead by example those naysayers? They would say that this is woo-woo, or do you even put an energy, your own precious energy, into trying to convince? And who will be those that come to see you at the end of the day?
Yeah. I don't try to convince anyone of anything. And I was chatting to a friend of mine about this the other day, and I think this is the new earth mechanics of, working and magnetizing. So I stand fully in my sovereignty. Stand fully in my authenticity about
Mm-hmm.
what I do. And the people that are ready to experience the healing medicine that I offer will magnetize to me. So obviously I do a bit of marketing, and of course, you have to do some, you can't just sit at home and
Hmm.
go, hey, everyone's going to arrive. So there's a
Hmm.
bit of marketing, but my fundamental kind of vision is that I do what I do. I stand in my authenticity. I lead by example. I embody
Yes.
what it is I'm trying to inspire people, and people will magnetize to me. The kind of people that tend to come to me, and this is a bit of a theme. I mean, I do see people that are at their end of their tether, of course, that they've tried everything. They're literally, on their knees and they don't know where to go. So I do see a bit of that. And I think all of us in this complementary medicine area do see people at the end of their tether, and they're like, I don't know if I believe this, but I'll give it a go because I'm
Hmm.
desperate, right? So you do see a bit of that, but a lot of my clients that I see are people that are already on a spiritual path, or they're feeling the nudge within them that there's something more to their life purpose and they're not quite sure what it is. So one of my gifts seems to be able to unlock that potential within people, or rather help them to connect with it, to have a deeper remembrance of that within them. And I've bore witness to that. I mean, it gives me tremendous joy to do that because we all have amazing gifts. We're all here to create heaven on earth.
Yes.
It's up to us. It's not up to any external people around us, any governments, any, external kind of systems. We have to remember to the inner revolution. The real revolution is the inner revolution. We want to change the world, we change ourselves. So it's great to see to get people to connect with that part of themselves and activate and help them to remember their gifts that they're here to do, to bring. And people are fundamentally good. People want love and peace in the world. But it's all the noise and the narrative around them that maybe is giving them a sense of limited thinking, or that they don't have the power. Because from the minute a child is conceived almost on this planet, there's already, a vibrational construct around them that's, limiting them and
Hmm.
stuff, just with everything, all the different systems. They're not really designed to allow people to fully flourish into their full spiritual potential. So it gives me great joy to be able to sit with people. And I work with energy, with sound. It's very intuitive what I do. It's quite unique. It's kind of difficult to explain in words what I do. But I blend all of my skill sets, and I'm very connected to earth energies as well. So like it's almost like I can pull in earth energies and share them with people to help them remember a very grounded, anchored version of their spiritual selves, and unlock and alchemize and expand their gifts. So I bore witness to that with people where they'd come to me and say, look, I know I have this purpose and I don't know what it is and I feel so
Hmm.
stagnated. And then you just see them fly. You're just, now they're doing it. I'm just holding the space. I'm just almost being a mirror to them to say, hey, and obviously doing a bit of energy work to release the frequencies and the energetics around what's blocking them from fully expanding. But it's great to see it because there's quite a number of people that I have seen just expand and really start to connect with more people. And some of them are doing amazing work. And it
Hmm.
just brings so much joy that I'm there to help these people. And it's also, I always look at things as it's unifying together to expand each other. So even when
Yeah,
I
that's
ran
true.
centers, some people would be like, have this competitive mindset that, oh, you can't have two of the same therapists here, or this center down the road is doing this. And I used to always say, because at one point in the centers, we had 80 therapists between the centers and of all different modalities. And I used to say to them, this is not about competition. You do what you do to the best of your ability, and people will come to you. We don't need to worry about
So
what other
true.
people are doing. We're moving away. Like the new paradigm is about cooperation. It's about
Right.
building community. It's about
Right.
unifying together. So it brings me great joy to see people expanding into that. And even, the community I have now in Ireland and internationally, we collaborate together to support each other on our
Hmm.
sole mission to help people on earth, to be in
And
service to humanity. So the more
and
people I can help to expand into that, the more joy it brings me, you know?
it's a great mindset. And I had the pleasure of being a co-facilitator along with you at this recent mini retreat, which was amazing.
Mm.
So I know that you're working with tuning forks and you work with musical instruments. And as a musician, I know that the power of a song, a sound, a voice, a melody can really help balance energies and traumas that may be stored in the body. But I didn't know enough about tuning forks other than someone that I love, Eileen McCusick. So she wrote the book Tuning the Human Biofield, Healing with Vibrational Sound Therapy, and she talks about sound balancing and the role of sound in vibrational medicine and how when you balance that sound for that particular organ, you help break down some of the old programming that is stored in the fascia in the body, and then how it can release anything from digestive disorders to depression, migraines, insomnia, and other stuff. What were some of the cases that you have seen working with people that tuning fork or musical instruments really benefited them?
I'm familiar with Eileen's work actually. Amazing biofields, yeah. I work with solfeggio frequencies, which are
Okay.
certain kind of hertz. It's an ancient scale that the Gregorian chants would have
Yep.
been the scale of, which were
I
at
grew
the
up
time.
I grew up on singing it because I was a
Oh,
classical opera
amazing.
singer, so solfeggio was what we yeah.
Yeah, and like the research is all indicating that it brings the body back into harmony. And what I find amazing with the forks, and I've trained in them obviously, but I've kind of developed my own techniques,
Mm,
with it because I work very, very intuitively and kind of bring in different elements like sacred geometry and the tuning forks. I find that they create a lot of resonance where there's dissonance, and people can have experiences where they have deep emotional releases because, as you alluded to earlier on, we are energetic beings, and the body holds the score. The body
mhm,
holds a cellular memory. Our soul holds a memory of every experience that we've had. Unless we consciously work to release and expand and alchemize that into a different frequency, it stays locked in our body. So I've seen people have massive emotional releases through the sound, and it's just a sound just creating harmonics where there was dissonance. And also people having experiences where they might have had pain in the body. So some of the tuning forks I've had, and that's been released, or a restriction in the body is being released, where I have tuners that are like energy, like the typical energy tuner, tuning fork. And then I
mhm,
have tuning forks with weights on them. So they're called body tuners. So
mm,
with the weights on them, you can actually place them on the body and they cause little tiny frequency vibrations to go into the body. So
mm,
they're very good for releasing tension, restrictions in the fascia, in the physical body. So I've
mhm,
seen people that have maybe frozen shoulders starting to release that, or a lot of tension, or just realigning the body. I mean, for me, sound, the potential is infinite.
mhm,
The way forward with healing, sound, vibration, frequency. And even if you look at nutrition, the frequency of the food we put in, it's all energy.
absolutely. Yeah.
And there's science that are showing the different frequency levels of various different foods. And if we look at, and even, if you want to go one step further, even the clothes we wear.
Right.
I was only looking at this the other day and was looking into it a couple of weeks ago as well. Even, like cotton has a very high frequency, natural fibers have a higher frequency, and that all affects our body. So everything, we have to look at everything in a holistic way. But sound and frequency and vibrational medicine is the way forward. Whether that's
Yeah.
through food, through sound, through the tuning forks and different frequency technologies that we have. They
When
can all
I when I had the pleasure to study with Dr. Zach Bush, for those who don't know, he's a triple board certified MD, incredible. And just like you, he closed his clinic, his M clinic, he closed it down and decided that being in nature is the best medicine.
Mhm.
And so he holds, and he has other things going on, but I remember when I studied with him, we saw the energy that water holds, and how, even with the experiment that Dr. Masuro Emoto did about how water that is exposed to beautiful music changes their molecules, changes shape, and water that is exposed to heavy metal or negative, even negative words that come out of our mouth, change their shape. The fruit that you pick from a tree, and every tree or herb that you have in your house will respond to your frequency, will respond to your energy, and they're really growing in a way that can heal your particular body. And I know it sounds crazy, but this is, I think this is the secret to life. This is what energy is about. And I wanted to talk about it, but then I forgot what I wanted to say. But yes, absolutely. Everything has energy and frequency.
Yeah, and it's just going back to that point about the food. Like I'm seeing, because as I'm traveling around, and one of my passions is building community, and building community of people with different ideas, and going back to simplifying life, going back to nature, and growing your own food. There's a big movement of that now, where people are
Hmm.
starting to grow their own food, but whatever they have, whether it's a patio, whether it's a little field, or whether it's a massive big piece of land that they have. And like you said, the research is showing that when you're growing the food is growing to to basically calibrate and align with your energy field.
Hmm.
So even if people don't have anything, even if they sprout seeds or something, sprouted
Hmm.
seeds, you can do it on your sink at home. I do it
Hmm.
myself. And if you put intention into it, and just it will grow, especially for you. And the water is amazing. I think people are only really starting to understand just how potent water is, and how important water is, have pure, clean water that doesn't have chemicals or fluoride or any of that stuff. And that you can change the structure of the water with your intention, like Dr.
Hmm.
Emoto
Hmm.
did. And research is done on the solfeggio frequencies about the crystals that they create, kind of in the line of work that Dr. Emoto did, where they programmed the water with the different frequencies of the solfeggio
Hmm.
frequencies, and then they crystallized the water, and they created beautiful harmonic geometric structures. And we can't underestimate the impact that has. We're 70-80% water.
Right.
Water is important. It's all around us, So water is very, very important, to drink clean water. And worst
Yeah.
case, just program the water with your pure intentions.
Right.
Ask for the water molecular structure to be changed, to be completely aligned with your body, to nourish you in the highest possible way in that moment. Even something as simple as that can have an impact. So these are all simple, but it's all about knowing thyself, understanding the connectivity of life, understanding power of nature, water, nutrition, good connections with each other has on our overall health and well-being.
Yeah. And I just remembered what I wanted to add to Dr. Zach Bush. I remember he talked about the slaughtering of animals and then us eating it when we're really eating the last cry of those animals that cried for
Yeah.
help. So, and that's a choice that someone makes. I don't advocate for veganism. I really don't advocate for any type of diet other than the one that will help you thrive. And so, in my clinic, I tailor protocols to that particular chronic condition. We do a 90-day protocol, and then we try to bring things in and see if the body is in high resonance or not with that.
Mm.
But with our family, like my husband is vegan. I half jokingly say I turn him vegan, but it's true because I was a vegan for a very long time.
Mm.
But now I occasionally do eat some foods. And so when my kids eat a chicken or something that I make for them, I ask them, and now they know by now, to say a blessing, to say
Yes.
thank you. So it's not a religiosity, it's a consciousness, it's a mindfulness, it's a gratitude practice of elevating that soul of that animal that was slaughtered for us to eat it. So without getting into political or again,
Mm.
religious, it's just a matter of thank you so much, chicken, for, providing me with whatever I need for my body right now. Thank you so much. And that little thing already creates the connection between their mitochondria, my kids mitochondria, to that chicken spirit. So looking at it
Yeah.
macro to micro. So that's what we do in our household.
Yeah. And that's amazing. And even if you look at old practices of saying grace before meals,
Right.
as people got a bit more skeptical about religion and stuff like that, they were like, oh, that's very traditional. A lot of wisdom in it,
Yeah.
just like you explained there, because you're again putting your intention, you're putting your gratitude, and it's understanding the connectivity. So I think the first journey for people is to connect with themselves, because we can only connect with others as deeply as we connect with ourselves, So learning to connect with ourselves, and then you start to feel the connection of different things, and to have humility and reverence for all of life. And like you, I don't advocate for any particular diet. I was vegan, vegetarian for quite a long time, and I'm still am for the most part. But
Mm-hmm.
I give myself permission to tune into my body and say, do I need a certain protein or a certain meat at this time? Does it feel right for me to have this? And when I do eat meat, which is not very often, I try to eat as clean as I can, as ethically as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And would say a little prayer, not necessarily vocally, but within,
Mm-hmm.
offering gratitude to the food. These are, but when people start to understand the connectivity of everything, these things make absolute sense. Very
Yeah.
simple things, very humble things.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I think in modern life, we think we're beyond it. We're past that. Someone else will take care of it. I'm just gonna, you know,
yeah,
uh, it always bugs me coming from, a different country to hear that to go cups or that like everything is to go. Everybody has their, I'm not going to say their name, but their famous coffee shop in their hand. Like it's a cultural must-haves.
mm,
Why? Take your time, sit down at the coffee shop, enjoy that drink with your friend. It always kind of like, why are we always on a to go mode and not sit down and enjoy the moment mode?
yeah.
But, I guess that's part of the go, go, go mentality in the United States.
Yeah. And in a lot of places that I've seen around that I've been in Europe and Canada, people are go, 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 but that's almost like they're running from themselves. And that's why
Mm,
one of the wellness practices I say to people is spend, like, even if you have a really busy day, spend 5 minutes before you get out of your car into your home after
yeah,
work and just sit and just check in. How am I feeling? Where am I at? Because people really don't understand themselves in a lot of ways because they're running and they're distracting. And
right,
a lot of the way people behave is almost like a program.
right. That's
It's
true.
like
We are,
good
yeah,
marketing that's driving people's behaviors. So, but if you connect with yourself, you start to discern and have critical thinking and start to maybe educate yourself about different things rather than taking at face value what other external people are saying. Because sometimes other external people don't necessarily have the same value system that you do.
right,
So it's really important for people to take back that power and stop giving their power away to other people and structures and systems. Because I think that's part of the problems in the world, the chaos in the world, is because people are taking their power, giving it over to other systems, and then relying on those systems that aren't always, congruent with their values. So if people can know themselves and connect with themselves and start to discern, and there's so much information out there and like I don't get involved in politics or I avoid drama at all costs if I can. But I'm very aware and very open-minded about everything, and I do educate myself from loads and loads of different perspectives. But I think as we know ourselves, as we start to witness and see different things, vibrationally, we can feel if it resonates, if it's congruent with our truth.
hmm
So no massive amounts of kind of trying to be convinced of anything. It's you vibrationally feel. Does that feel right? It's like, energy doesn't lie. I remember a friend of mine who's a shaman, and because in my journey as an entrepreneur, I've met some very colorful people and quite a few narcissists, believe it or not, in the wellness industry. That I've come across. There's collective narcissism, I think, in our society anyway. But I've met a few characters, shall we say, over the years. And one of my paths was to learn discernment, to understand, where people are coming from. Because one of my biggest values is authenticity and having integrity and, doing the best you can and holding the vision to be in service, devoid of ego. But you come across lots of different characters and narcissists and people that maybe don't have the same values as you. And the shaman, my friend who's a shaman, said to me, he said, Yvonne, always read the energetics of what's happening. Listen, feel the frequency of the interactions. Does it feel right?
mm,
It's because he says energy doesn't lie. But if you're really tuned into yourself, you can feel the energies and you can bypass the drama of maybe what's playing out, or because very often people say things, but the energy of it is not the same. So when you can fine tune your discernment and understand to read energy and see how it feels in your body, how's my body reacting to this
right.
interaction? It's a great way for you to discern what feels like truth, and no drama necessary because you're feeling into it. You're feeling the energies of it, and it's to take nothing personal as well. Try not to take anything personal because we're all just doing the best we can in the situations. But it's important for us to know ourselves and understand, read the energy, and make decisions based on the energetics of things, the frequency that's unfolding in front of you.
Yeah. In Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, we call it being proactive and not reactive, which is
Yeah,
the yeah, this is the goal, but it's sometimes
yeah,
so hard because we're battling within ourselves as well. Like the perception of reality is also due to our cultural upbringing, our personal journeys, everything goes into our this,
yeah,
everything goes into this biological suit. But going back to how am I feeling right now? Am I feeling tense or am I feeling at ease? What is like, is it feeling like is my energy flowing or is it stopping or pausing for something? Yeah,
yeah,
I think this is a good way to check back in with yourself and see where you're at. I really like
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Observing, not absorbing. A friend of mine,
Mm.
she's a well-known numerologist, soul seer in Ireland, and we often do little interviews on Instagram, like about energy updates. And her mantra is observe, don't absorb.
I like that.
Observe what's happening without absorbing it. And that is a mantra for the times we're in, because we can get pulled into drama
Mm.
left, right, and center with everything that's playing out on the global stage, but if we can observe, and I find myself increasingly in states of observation, and I'm less and less triggered by things. So I find myself generally in a state of peace, even when there's stuff happening, I find myself in more and more states of peace. So I'm getting better at it. I won't say I never react to things. And when I do, I go, oh, that's quite a strong reaction. Okay, let's sit with this for a minute and see what's this? Because it's always about what's happening within us. It's not about the other person or the other
Hmm.
situation. It's always
Right.
about what's it kind of trigger, what's it rubbing off? What wounding is it rubbing off in me? And then sitting with that and taking, doing things to help with that. But I think the baseline is to have good nutrition, good exposure to nature, good sleep, good water, and then doing your different modalities. You have to have good foundation. Your body is your temple. And I was at a breatharian conference in Ireland back in April with a lady called Jazz Maheen. Maybe some of your viewers know her. She's written, I don't know, 30 books on breatharianism. And she was saying, your body is your temple. It is your meat suit that you are interacting in this reality. And there's no getting away from the fact you need to look after it. You need to fine tune it like a finely oiled machine to enable you to transmit and emanate higher frequencies and purposefully impact in a positive way the world around you. So your body is your temple. You have to look after it. There's no getting away from that.
Hmm. And then there's those that will, work out till, you know, for 3 hours or 4 hours at the gym because maybe they're escaping something else that they really need to attend to. But
Yeah,
that's like an autopilot. Let me go there as opposed to face what I need to face because that's a lot harder.
yeah. So it's all about balance
Yeah.
and softness and compassion. And I remember her even saying at that conference, because she was it was amazing listening to her. Like I was like blown away by her. And she said, start wherever you are.
Hmm.
So if your diet is not great, for example, just take little steps to change it in some way. Maybe change one meal or have a slightly less portion or whatever it is. And like that about the movement, she was like, listen to your body. What way does your body want to move? You don't have to
Right.
pump away in the gym. But she was saying she used to have this kind of very stringent yoga practice, that was like religiously every day. And then it was like, actually, no, I don't want to do this anymore. So she started to do different practices and just moved whatever way her body wanted to. So it's not to be rigid, it's to listen and be in flow and
Yeah.
and have balance about things.
Yeah. I mean,
Elements of discipline, of course, but a nice balance and a flow and compassionate and gentleness about your experience.
I feel that from the clients that I've seen in my clinic all this time is breaking old habits is the hardest thing. It's what leads one to be where they're at. And there's all these, like Joe Dispenza talks about, old programming that are so hard to get rid of. And when you do succeed getting rid of it, then you need to be so solid and so grounded, um, observant of everything, so you won't fall back into those old habits. I see clients in my clinic, I work with them And even those that I work on a weekly basis, I work with them. They're leaving here amazing, feeling uplifted, whatever, whatever. We do that session, and then they come back the next week. Have you done what I gave you to do? No.
No.
How do you
Yeah.
expect to move forward? I don't have the magic pill. I can spend one
Yeah.
hour with you, but the rest of the 23 hours a day is on you.
Yeah. And people have to take personal responsibility for that, and I would say to people, start with little steps. If it's,
Yeah.
'cause particularly if you're in a really difficult situation in your life, if your health is bad and relationships are bad and work and you've a bit of a crisis going on, it
Yeah.
can almost be overwhelming to say, well, where do I even start? Oh, there's not much point because, but if you can take one small step, one and have a win on that one, and then build it from there. But you have to take personal responsibility and you have to have an element of discipline.
Right.
Nobody's doing it for you. People, it's like that gap between knowing what you need to do and actually doing it. You have
Mhm.
to kind of cross that bridge over to doing and implementing some of it, and taking personal responsibility. And the greatest, thing you can do on this planet is to be the most expanded, joyful, highest potential of yourself.
Mhm.
That's how we're going to create heaven on earth. Everything else will fall from that, because when you do that, the impact that has on your children, on the generations, and your
Right.
community and your families, like it has huge impact. Like, don't underestimate when you make good improvements in your life and create more joy in your life, how much of an energetic, coherent wave that creates. And all
Right.
the science is there for that, by the way.
Yeah.
Heart map in the
Yeah.
US, they've done amazing research about, how when you're in expanded states of love and joy and appreciation and gratitude, that it creates a field and it impacts.
Yeah. They also call it non-local healing. You can heal someone else, from a distance by you changing yourself.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's
it's
that's
very
the message I say to people is, you want to change the world, it starts with yourself.
yeah.
And we are all entitled to live a joyful life. We are here to do that. The only thing we need to do is remove everything within us that's telling us otherwise, which is all just programming and frequencies, and we can change them by, changing elements of our life. You know, it's all doable.
Yeah. We
Even in
say,
adversity, even in chaos. And this is a really important message because we are moving, like even all the astrology is indicating, and in the States particularly, you're moving into a time of massive change. It's
hmm
going to feel really, really uncomfortable for people that are stuck in a very
hmm
limited perception. But if they can expand their perception, start to expand their heart and start to look after themselves and know themselves, that doesn't have to be as uncomfortable as they would currently perceive it to be. It's all about your perception. So it's really important for people to understand that even when things are really kicking off in the global stage, and it is going to, and it is now, and it has been for many years, but it feels astrologically it's going to intensify a little bit. And I'm not saying that to mongering people. I'm saying that from a point of empowerment. So it doesn't matter what's happening out there. Bring it in, and we can rapidly change that into a much more positive experience for us all.
yeah,
It's
I would say
important
by
to be
choice
aware of
or
that. Yeah,
yeah, by
yeah.
by choice or by force, you will have to change.
Exactly. And the energetics. But, from my own experience, even the most uncomfortable, traumatic experiences in my life have been the biggest gifts. They have opened me, they've brought me back to myself.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't be in a hurry to repeat some of the stuff I had to go through. But and traumatic as it brought me to where it opened up, it cracked me open. Sometimes kicking and screaming, but it cracked me open. So it's brought me to a point that even like last year, one of my centres closed, bit of a controversy. I was given 30 days eviction notice. They were mass evicting people my job, where my centre was. They were part of a bigger political thing in Ireland, which I won't bore people with. But basically, the long and short of it was I was given 30 days notice to close my business. And I was like, but I said what I meant. Okay, you're mastering dealing with adversity and change and adapting to things. So I sat with it and felt the feeling because obviously I was really upset. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, like we had clinical psychologists with 6-month waiting lists for kids with neurodiversity issues that were waiting to be diagnosed. So it was a bit of a concern, and it was a big kind of service to the community and all the different things that we did. So it was a bit of a shock to the system. But I sat with it and decided to cultivate joy and curiosity about what was going to come in instead of it. So focusing on the void that was being created, and my life has transformed in ways I can't even begin to imagine. That's when I got the nudge to start traveling. So I've traveled quite a lot and bringing things more global. I always had people globally coming to Ireland, but now it's going the opposite way. And so my life is transformed in a way that's beyond my imagination, and it's only expanding more and more and more. But I had a choice, and this is the choice point that people have every day. You have a choice to go be the victim, feel disempowered, poor me, oh my God, look what's happening, this is awful, all of that. Or you can say, right, I'm going to feel all the feelings that are rising within me, let them move through because it's not about spiritual bypassing them, and then go, right, okay, I'm a creative being, infinite potential. I can vision in the highest timeline for myself. What do I want? What do I want to do? And hold that. And the key soft spot, sweet spot in that is surrendering, knowing that there's
Mhm.
a great, that sometimes we don't always see the end goal, that we just have to know it's happening for me, uncomfortable as it is, it's happening. But alchemize these deep feelings of despair into excitement and curiosity, and then just trust that it's all going to unfold. And it does, and it has. And um, that's the potential that we have to create. So when people are in that pickle and in that discomfort, just remember you have the power to create your experience.
What
And
a
that's really important at the
powerful
moment.
statement. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really important. It is really important, particularly for the energies that we're moving into. People have to understand that. They have to take a breath and anchor and realize they're creating. They are literally creating earth, heaven on earth. So if you have kids, if you have grandkids, it is your personal responsibility to make the world a better place just by your existence. And it doesn't have to be this massive, big global role. It can be in your everyday experience, in all your interactions with people, but most importantly, with your interaction with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really powerful statement to close our podcast with. This is amazing. Yvonne, where can our listeners and our viewers get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me. Probably, maybe Instagram might be easiest for most people. So at Yvonne Skelly Healing is my own personal Instagram. I do have a website called Lakeshore Wellness Center, and center is spelt the Irish way. So it's CENTRE.com. So Lakeshore Wellness Center, TRE.com. So that's where a lot of our events are on, some of our events in Ireland, and at Yvonne Skelly Healing on Instagram. And just to let people know, I do corporate wellness. Like I obviously work in a personal capacity with people and facilitate things around the world, but I do corporate wellness in Ireland and internationally. So if there's any corporates out there that would like to kind of I do a kind of a keynote speech talking about cultivating joy and building resilience in times of change. So if people are interested in that. And I do want to give a big shout out to my dear friend Eileen, because she's based here in the US, and she set up a company. So if people follow her as well, at Aurora_Lakeshore_Wellness. And she's starting to do, I'm working with her on this. She's doing corporate wellness. We're doing the events that you, myself, yourself, and Liz and Eileen did. We're going to start doing more of these because I think you'll agree people need it.
Yeah.
People absolutely need it. So big shout out to Eileen, Aurora Lakeshore Wellness, because she's starting to make waves now with us as a group. It's a community of wellness practitioners that are holding a division on our heart to support people during these times. So please give her a follow as well. And watch out for her events, because there will be events coming up in California and beyond, possibly.
And beyond. Well, thank you so much, Yvonne, for being with us today. And for everyone else, you know where to get a hold of Yvonne. We're also going to put it in the show notes. And until next time, see you later.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.